It's time for a reality check.
We're here to deconstruct health and fitness trends and provide tangible advice so you can become 1% better with each choice starting today. Welcome back to Reality Check. We are your hosts, Jess and Jill, and we didn't really plan for this. I guess we never really do plan for it, but probably a little bit of an unhinged week across the board for a plethora of reasons. So you're in for a treat. Today's topic is really just, I don't know if you guys have seen the trends of like, I wasn't afraid to hurt your feelings. This is the advice I would give as this type of professional. And we've been seeing this a lot. So we're doing our own version of if we weren't afraid to hurt your feelings, but I want to give some context that I think influencers, people on social media, professionals are using this as like a get your shit together type of energy. And we want to be like,
not that. And like, I think it's kind of like our vibe for our whole podcast is if we weren't afraid to hurt your feelings. And it's not because we're trying to hurt your feelings. It's because we want to just give facts and educate you guys and give context. So that's why it's called reality check.
We're not actually hurting your feelings.
Right.
That's the vibe that we're.
But yeah, like we've seen other influencers and a lot of their posts about this are like, but really it's because you're not disciplined, or it's because we all have the same 24 hours in a day. If I can do it, you can do it. And it's like, that's not helpful to people. So we want to give context that like, I don't know, if somebody only wants to work out once a month, like that's fine. That's their choice. Right. But here, as long as our inputs are matching our expectations, things like that. So anyway, that's kind of what inspired this topic. Also, yeah. I'm like heavily caffeinated right now. So like the unhinged to the nth degree.
I can't wait.
I just took so many notes on this and it was just a brain dump. So I'm sure we'll think of things to add as we're going to.
Yeah, we just threw random things together here. So start with these are like conversations that Jess and I have had recently together about our own shenanigans, if you will. So Jessica, give us the changes that you've made to your health in the last.
Oh, unrelated to our topic. Okay, so unrelated to our topic, me and Jill were just talking about this morning, and I was like, we have to tell our listeners, this is so cool. One, you all know I struggle with my sleep. I did do a Dutch test a few months back, and it showed excessive amounts of cortisol at all hours of the day. My cortisol is through the roof. It is no surprise based on like the blood work I've had done over the last couple of years. We see my insulin climbing. My insulin resistance is because of stress and lack of sleep, not necessarily because of my food choices. Now the Dutch test just backed that up by showing, hey, your cortisol is really high, your dopamine's pretty low. You should probably like go to sleep, stop staring at phones, like do healthy things, right? But with that, I've been looking into different ways to optimize my sleep routine. And something I just changed. So first of all, when we went to Mexico on vacation a couple weeks ago, when we were in Mexico, I think the best thing that happened, like health-wise, was that every night I wasn't looking at my computer. Because a lot of times after the kids go to bed, I'll catch up on work, I'll message clients back, I'll update programming, whatever. And I think just having that blue light in my eyes, and I do wear blue light blocking glasses, but I think having the screen and the light stimulus late at night totally jacks up my system. And it was cool because after a week of not having my computer with me at all, I came home and even having normal work days for probably at least the first full week, I felt regulated. Like when it started to get dark out, I felt tired. And we didn't go to bed a crazy amount earlier, but I didn't have that light stimulation on vacation. And just for those 5 days, I felt like it reset me in a way where I was like, ooh, I feel calm and level. I feel tired when I'm supposed to be, even at home, back in my normal routine.
I actually saw a Mel Robbins video, and I didn't look into whatever research study she was referring to, but she said there was some study recently that said 3 days of no screens, so 72 hours of zero screens, completely resets your dopamine and serotonin receptors. And I thought that was very interesting.
I would be curious about that. And like anything, it probably depends on how long have you been jacking up your system. Like, wouldn't it take longer if you're?
Well, there's a lot of factors, obviously, to consider.
But that is interesting.
Like your dopamine hits, yeah. But I think we're all very addicted to our screens and our phones, so any amount of time off is beneficial.
Is healthy, yeah. It just made me be like, wow. Whenever I feel like those feelings of anxiousness or like restless, wired but tired type feelings, it literally fixed it that quickly. Where when I came home, stared at my computer all day for work, My kids got home after work. I get ready for bedtime. Like I was actually winding down like I ought to be. And it was just after 1 week off of late night screen time. The other thing that I changed just like 4 or 5 days ago, and I texted Jill about it this morning because I was like, I wanted to see if it actually made a difference. And I feel like it has been major. Your phone gives off a lot of EMFs. And especially if you plug your phone in right by your bed, that can disrupt our hormonal regulation and our brain waves and stuff, even if you're not looking at your phone. So even if you're not looking at the light, even if you don't wake up and check what time it is, physically having it near you can whack out our circadian rhythms. Now, I used to think this was some hippie, wacky BS. Like I had a neighbor when we used to live in Maryland who like showed us these studies on the bees, and she was like lobbying up against government about the 5G towers being put up everywhere because she said, hey, it's actually killing bees and insects and stuff because these like frequencies that are being put in the air affect all of us. And we don't know what they do yet to people. And she used to bring us, I probably have some still on my desk, these little like magnetic things that are supposed to help like counterbalance that type of frequency or something. Anyway, at the time I was like, yeah, whatever. She's got her crazy ideas again. You can physically test this stuff. Like you can use like an electrician has monitors. You can test this stuff and actually see frequencies coming out. And what has happened is now all these cell phones are on 5G towers. And it's really cool because we can get internet instantly. But what I did is I just switched my phone where it's not using 5G anymore. It's 4G only. And I have not noticed a significant slowdown in my phone yet, or like in my service or anything. I switched that, and then I looked up, I just went on Chat GPT and I said, hey, what are the quickest things I can change settings wise to reduce the amount of EMFs that my phone puts off at night? And it said like just switching to airplane mode at night does that. There's some like low power mode settings you can do that does it. But basically you just want your phone using less energy. So I think the biggest thing that I switched was turning off my 5G thing. And I am telling you, it is like I'm falling asleep faster when I get into bed. And I am feeling more well-rested during my sleep and when I wake up in the morning, despite still not doing my best in terms of hours of sleep. So it's not like other factors are really changing a ton. And this is, again, just within the last 4 days. But I felt like it was worth noting because I felt a big difference.
Yeah, love that.
So yeah, that's that. And then I feel like you saw major effects from your lymphatic massage. I don't know if you wanted to talk about that. Again, this is stuff that's like cherry on top stuff. We still think that the basics, that the lifting, eat vegetables, eat protein, sleep, like those are the most important things. But as a cherry on top, do you want to talk about your massage you had?
Yeah, and I feel like this kind of correlates to another thing that we chatted about right before we started recording, which I'll touch on. But I was recently going through some super weird like bloating, like definitely off the wall, lower belly painful, never had anything like that before, all day, every day, just felt really uncomfortable. And I was doing all these different things. I was like trying to see if there was like, something inflammatory that my body didn't like. And I ended up getting a lymphatic massage because I was doing a lot of research and I was like, you know what, let me look into this. And I did it. I got so much relief. I did another one, and I've not had bloating. Now, I'm hesitant to say those words because I don't want anyone listening to this to say, I'm bloated, I need a lymphatic massage, and I don't need to change anything else, and that will solve all of my problems. I am in a season of life where I am very diligently lifting weights, sleeping, managing my stress. My macros are quite meticulous. My fiber intake is 40 grams plus a day. My sodium intake is not off the wall because I'm not eating a ton of processed foods or eating out as frequently as I like to. So a very true scenario of I'm checking all the boxes and there's still something a little bit off. I ran a gut test. It actually was not bad at all. And I was shocked. Not because I don't think I'm doing a good job, but because of my symptoms being so poor. So is it going to be harmful if you listen to this and you go book a lymphatic massage and feel better? No. But I know that I had to get that lymphatic massage because there are other things that I'm not doing a good job at. So the lymphatic massage helped give me relief temporarily, but what I need to really do is focus on my nervous system. I need to go back to my regular walks because I slacked a little bit. So my step intake, now that's not the end all be all, but it helps, right? I'm just somebody with very digestive sensitivity types of things. And my motility, transparently, has been a problem most of my life. And I think sometimes when you deal with something for so long, and I'm not speaking for myself, I'm making a generalization. When you deal with something your whole life, you think this is just the way that things are, and that it can't be fixed or corrected. But if you've never actually known what the problem is and how to fix it, who knows? You could solve. I have clients that come to me that say, I don't go to the bathroom every day. I never have. Guess what they're doing now? They're going to the bathroom every day and they're in their mid 30s and 40s, right? So my point is that we still want to address the root of the issue. There are sometimes things like Jess said, this is great. This is giving me relief, even though I'm not addressing the root problem yet. That's cool, but you have to be aware of what your inputs are and what's actually causing that problem in the first place. This is a classic case of like, my hormones are off. I'm not saying your hormones aren't off, and I'm not saying the lab won't say that, but what is causing?
But what are you going to do about it?
Place? And then what are you going to do with that information? So,
but lymphatic massage can just be cool if you tend to struggle with inflammation. Again, while we're working on the base, like the root cause of it. Now, Jill went to somebody who specializes in this, and they know so much more about this than we know about this. Like Jill was she was telling Jill about the different pathways, and well, these particular lymph nodes do A, B, and C, and like we don't know about that, right? But I have done as simple as going on YouTube and looking up self-lymphatic drainage.
Oh, yeah.
And I do this all the time when when my head feels puffy from allergies and sinuses. My grandfather, I've talked to a lot of women who have breast cancer who do lymphatic massage because they have edema and swelling. My grandfather has a tongue cancer, and he gets a lot of swelling up here by his lymph nodes up near his neck. That's really great for stuff like that. So again, if you're somebody who tends to struggle with inflammation type things, there's a million different things we can do. Anytime I'm kind of detoxing, anytime I'm doing something because I want to flush my system, I tend to pair it with some sort of lymphatic support type stuff. It's just another system of the body. Again, I'm less educated in it than a lot of people, but it can be really helpful. And I feel like after that one lymphatic massage, you were like, whoa, I feel so much better now for like the last couple weeks.
Yeah. And it kind of ties into, I told Jess that I saw a post recently, and I feel like, ironic that I'm wearing this hat today, but I feel like there was so much talk for so long about we want health to be a priority. We want to change the way that healthcare looks, and that it's more proactive than reactive, and all of these things that we wanted as a country, right? As people. And now that it's here, everyone's arguing about, well, this isn't helpful. Well, this isn't helpful. So seed oils, there are restaurants and fast food chains that are coming out and saying, we're removing all seed oils. And everyone's like, this is stupid. This is, people need to eat fruits and veggies. I don't disagree with you, but I will take whatever I can get in terms of reducing our exposure to endocrine disruptors, reducing our exposure to inflammatory components in our system, right? If you can go get fast food and not be as heavily exposed to inflammatory ingredients and foods and chemicals and things, great. Do you still need to eat protein and move your body and get nutrients?
And probably eat less calories.
Yeah. Yes, but I'll take what I can get. I think, and this is a whole nother conversation. We've done an episode on this a couple weeks ago or months ago, but I can't control what other people do, but we can educate more, which I think is huge. And where do we draw the line if somebody says, you shouldn't eat as much of this, and you should eat more of this, and the store shouldn't sell this, and this shouldn't be on food stamps? Like, who draws that line, right? And that's like a whole nother topic, and gray area, I think, where likely we all agree more than we realize. But my point is that goes across the board. Yes, there are absolutely bigger rocks that people can move, which is obviously why Jess and I do what we do. However, I will take that as a W any freaking day of the week.
Especially food dyes, like with kids' behavioral issues. It's really funny. I'm like smiling as Jill's talking. Okay, so one, I think you're bringing this up to say, hey, if you want a lymphatic massage, sure, go get it. It might just be a cherry on top for you if you're not doing the important things. that's similar to these other changes that are perhaps being made, where it's like, okay, they might make small differences. There's no harm in making those changes, but they're not the biggest rocks, right? I'm laughing while you're talking about it because I actually have this topic in our notes for today, but I was taking the opposing stance on it, Jill. So our if we weren't afraid to hurt your feelings, I guess we can kind of like get into our notes. If we weren't, here's some fitness advice and truths that we would say if we weren't afraid to hurt your feelings. My comment was switching your fast foods to cane or your Coca-Cola to cane sugar Coca-Cola and your fast food to beef tallow versions of fast foods doesn't make you healthy inherently, right?
100%.
So that was one of my, hey, sorry to break it to you. And the reason I'm saying that is because I've seen a lot of people on social media recently who are particularly unhealthy people who I know in real life sharing like, yay, what a win. They're doing beef tallow fries at Zaxby's now or wherever. And it's like, oh my gosh, these people are not eating protein. They're not eating vegetables.
Totally.
And now they think they're being healthy. So that to me is something I want to educate on is like, okay, the caloric excess is the biggest problem when paired with all these inflammatory things. If you eat things that have added oils, added salts, added sugars, you tend to crave more and more, and you tend to overeat calories. That is the biggest problem. So that was hey, don't want to hurt your feelings, but you're not healthier just because you drink cane sugar Coca-Cola now instead of Diet Coke. Like you
But
probably
that's like the point of our podcast, that literally
to give both sides,
can be true and coexist, and that
correct.
you have to move into a camp and ignore everything else.
Correct.
Right? It's not the biggest rock. Yeah, go eat a veggie and stop fucking overeating processed
and
food.
stop going to fast food restaurants all the time.
Right.
Okay, but then when I do go, yeah, I would be happy if there was more gluten-free options or less added seed oils and less preservative, less food dyes and things. I notice a direct correlation of my children's behavior when they have things with food dyes. So again, I think again both are important, but it's good that we're talking about it in the context of both things.
Yes.
Okay, so I think the biggest thing, if we weren't afraid to hurt your feelings, is that you think you're in a caloric deficit and nothing's working, but you're not in a caloric deficit. So, oh my gosh, I've been dieting for so long and it's not working. And then they start working with us and we start reverse dieting them. And then suddenly they lose weight and they think, oh my gosh, I was just so adapted. I just needed to eat more to lose weight. That does not work. Like scientifically, you cannot eat more calories and lose weight. What is happening in these scenarios? Now, we do have women who eat more calories and start lifting weights and they start adding on muscle mass. Now, those women aren't losing weight. They're either staying the same or they're gaining weight, but we can see inches lost because they're gaining muscle and they're losing body fat at the same time, right? To lose weight, whether that weight is coming from muscle or fat, you do need to eat less calories. So if somebody comes to us and they think they're eating less, but really we're just adding protein and adding fiber and making them eat healthier, they are more full. So they think, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm eating so much and I'm losing weight. When in reality, they were eating more calories before they came to us, or they would not be losing weight. Period. End of story. So again, I think that's one a lot of people think, and some of them are like, no, I've tracked for a long time. I know my food intake. And then once we actually get them tracking, we see, well, you track Monday through Thursday, and then you kind of do whatever you want every weekend. And Friday through Sunday is almost half the week. Like, what are we like? They think it because they are trying really hard, but their self-awareness or their data is not accurate.
I have a client in a deficit right now, and she is somebody who is like just near flawless in her execution with her tracking. She just does things and that's it. But her body was not responding anywhere near the way I anticipated it to in the deficit. And I was like, there's got to be something. So I went through her food diary and I was like, hey, are you weighing? Like, there was like 3 items. There's 3 things that I see measured differently than other things in your food diary. The only one that she was not measuring to the gram was rice that she was eating, I think, in 2 meals a day. She was eating way larger portions of rice 1 to 2 times a day, every single day of the week. That in and of itself, she dropped 2 pounds the next week. As soon as I was like, hey, do me a solid. Don't
just measure it in grams and let's just see what happens. Yeah.
And her weight went down right away. So it's like, could be the littlest, silliest thing that you're like, there's no way this is the problem. And that could be the thing. And it's not because we think you're lying. It's because you might just not know any better, or you might actually not
Correct.
think it's a problem, right? So,
And you might be
that lack of
tracking like,
awareness is it.
yeah, and that's a client who is tracking really well. And it's just
Yeah.
a, hey, let's make a shift and see. And then when she sees, she can then adjust and be like, oh, wow, I was having more than I thought I was having, right? Like it's an easy adjustment then. It's
So
not like
simple.
we don't want you tied to a food scale for the rest of your life. That's for sure.
Right.
So I think that's a good segue to another point I have listed here. And I'm going to go on both sides of the spectrum again and talk about both, right? Because I think that there are two opposing views that should come together and would probably agree. One, tracking macros or taking weigh-ins or measuring food is inherently unhealthy and disordered. My sister-in-law tracks her food and she eats really well and she's just trying to build muscle. Her body, it's hard for her to build muscle and she does a lot of things right. And she's had a couple people who are like, well, that's not healthy to track your macros. And she's like, what you're eating is healthy, right? Like in what context is our point here? So one, data should eventually become data. So a lot of times we're using these tools of tracking to educate so that people can learn what they're putting in their body, or so that we can hit a specific goal and then wean off of tracking so that you can just learn to maintain. A lot of time, the first like 3 to 6 months with our clients is spent aiming to build muscle, adding food, and them seeing, whoa, I'm actually weighing a little bit more, but my pants are fitting better. How's that possible? So it actually is unwinding this fear of the scale. It's creating a healthier relationship with food and the scale. It's all about context, right? I've seen coaches on social media who insist that you must weigh every single gram of fruit that you eat and for the rest of your, and if you like, right, that's in an unhealthy, obsessive way. Like that's creating a disordered type of eating relationship, right? So it's all about context. In that same way, I'm going to put a kibosh on this one. Intuitive eating is inherently healthy. No, it's not. If you are listening to your body and that's all you're doing and you don't have that educational foundation or you don't have any base of reference.
You're listening to your cravings, not
right.
your actual body.
Oh, I'm intuitive eating and so I drink soda a couple times a day because it feels good for my body and I eat ice cream and this and that. And I've seen women coming from this and then I have them tracking and I'm like, we haven't eaten one fruit or vegetable all week. Our protein, you're eating 60 grams of protein a day. Again, that's great if your mental health feels good with your food, but both are important. Your physical and your mental health are
what your body
important.
needs, not what your brain wants. Like that's
Correct.
not intuition.
Our ultimate goal is to get our clients intuitively eating and not feeling like they have to obsess over every single meal. Like our goal is to get clients to where they want physically, get them healthier, teach them habits that now feel easy to them. They don't feel like they're overhauling their life and being all or nothing. And then our goal is to wean them off of these tracking tools so that they can just maintain forever. Like that is our goal, to merge these two methods together in a very healthy way, both physically and mentally.
100%. And I think that kind of ties into something else that I mentioned too, is I had this conversation a couple times with new clients coming into the program today. And, one of the most common questions I get with women interested in our program is like, how much are labs? What labs do you do? Do you do them right from the start? And my answer is always, it depends. It depends what you need. If you're someone that's like, get me the data, I want to see it all right now from the start, and I'm willing to make that investment, amazing. I'll send you the order now. But here's what I recommend is that we wait a couple weeks. I collect some data. We develop our relationship. I look at what your life looks like in real time for a couple weeks. And then we decide, does this make sense right now? And so often we get this whole big intake, right? I have all these like super intimate, in-depth, vulnerable questions or conversations with incoming clients. We get their whole intake form that the coach uses to build out their starting protocol. Sometimes your intake lacks that self-awareness, right? And that's okay. That's something that we work on.
Oftentimes.
Most of the time, right? Because one of the things that we work on first with clients, with any like air quote problem, right, that we have in life, awareness is step one. How do you fix something if you don't even know it's a problem that needs to be fixed, right? So your perception of what your inputs and body and health look like can be vastly different. So I have a client that comes in and says, but I eat really healthy and I know there's something off. But I look at her food diary and it's 1,300 calories, 1,100 calories, 2,900 calories, 1,400 calories. And I'm like, hold on here. You might make healthy food choices and meal choices when you go out to eat. You might eat a good variety of colors.
Her nutrient density is good.
But your intake is lacking significantly, right? And you're telling me you're bloated all the time. Well, yeah, I bet, because you're balls to the wall every Saturday, but then you're heavily restricting through the week. I would have digestive issues too in that scenario. So that perception of eating healthy is not what that person actually needs at that point. Or a client who said, yeah, I go out once in a while. Like, it's not a huge deal. Thursday to Sunday every week. I was like, okay, so her perception was, well, I don't go out every day. Whereas my perception of not going out that much is like twice a year.
Once a quarter.
Day, right? Like, that's my idea of not going out a lot. So we have to make sure that we're on the same page when we're talking about that. So
in terms of like, what does it mean?
We ask clients so many times throughout the program, okay, you're telling me you want this. What does that look like for you? I want to feel comfortable and confident. Great. What does that look like for you? Because for somebody that might be, I want to lose 40 pounds and fit in my high school jeans. And for somebody else, it might be, I just want to have a healthy relationship with food and hang out with my kids and not think twice about it, right? Two totally different scenarios and pathways that we would take. Same thing. I eat healthy. Great. What does that look like for you in a typical day? People get annoyed with me when I ask that question, but I'm like, hold on, you just said this thing, right? So your perception of your inputs may be the problem. And again, it's not that you're doing anything wrong, but it might not be serving your ultimate goal and purpose. And I think that is so important to understand, especially when you're consuming information on the internet.
Go back to listen to our episode about the power of unlearning also. I feel like that one's really appropriate in this context because a lot of people are working so hard. Like, you guys are working so hard in the gym. You're trying to eat healthy, but you're going down the wrong path. You're going to a different state than the state you want to get to, right? So yeah, I think that that's a great example.
Yeah.
Okay, this one I feel like might be touchy, but I also think we get it all the time from people who DM us, from clients, from past clients, we've hired 3 coaches in the last couple months, which is great, right? Our team is growing. But we'll oftentimes have people reach out to us and say like, hey, I work out a lot. I was thinking about becoming a coach. Is that position still open? Just because you are fit, or again, I want to put this in the perspective of somebody on the internet is fit, right? There's a lot of bodybuilders who have really great physiques who do it in super unhealthy ways, right? So just because you are fit or just because you like learning about fitness and nutrition doesn't necessarily mean you would make a good coach or would be well qualified as a coach. And now some of this, obviously, there's an educational thing, right? If anybody asks us this, we are happy to be like, yep, start here in terms of certification, whether it's for nutrition or for training. Now, once people go and they run and get those certifications, now there's this experience gap that's really important to fill, so that you can learn how to work with people who are nothing like you, right? So a lot of times bodybuilders will become fitness coaches, and unfortunately, their only exposure to becoming fit has been through this super restrictive, super obsessive modality. So they've never learned for themselves that actually you can eat more and not do 2 hours of cardio a day to maintain a good physique. Did you know that? Right? They've never actually done that themselves. So how in the world are they going to coach like a normal person who's not competing just for physique on stage, but don't care about mental health, right? So the full scope is really important. I've talked about this before, but I think one of my biggest learning moments in how little I knew was when I was first in-person training and I was assigned a group session, like a group training class of a bunch of teachers who are all overweight, right? Me being 25 and yay, I'm going to go and get everybody healthy. I'm like writing up circuits that have burpees and okay, we're going to do V-ups and I wrote this whole plan out before I met any of these women, and they literally laughed at me. And I have good relationships with them now. Actually, one of them came back, like this was 8 years ago when I started like training in person full time. One of them actually came back and is a client with us now at Fueled. But they laughed at me like, you think we're going to get up and down off the floor and do all these crazy exercises? Are you kidding? Like, have you seen what physically that would be hard for us, right? And it was a real wake up call to be like, oh, okay, I need to learn how to coach this type of person who is very different physical capabilities wise than me. Right. And I think the quicker you can get experience and have little failures like that, if you are somebody who really cares about growth and learning, the quicker you're going to learn. Right now, a lot of people experience these things and they say, oh, well, the client just didn't really want to do it or this or that. Like you have to be open as a coach to saying like, what could I have done differently to help them get their results or to help them do that thing that was maybe uncomfortable for them? Because then you can close that knowledge gap through experience and through actually learning from your clients. Another great example is like postmenopausal women, right? I have coached a lot of postmenopausal women. I have not yet been through menopause. Before I was pregnant, I have 2 kids now. Before I ever had kids, I coached some pregnant women. I'll tell you what, I'm a better coach now having been through that. But the more pregnant and postpartum women I have coached, the better I've become at that, right? Because I learned, oh, my one pregnancy is not like everybody else's pregnancy, right? They're all different. So just getting that experience is so very important, in addition to obviously the book knowledge. And we have a whole episode about like red flags in coaches. If you're looking to hire somebody, here's questions to ask and stuff. But I think one of the big things for us that's really important with the population that we work with is, okay, how do you maintain your health and fitness, right? And again, it's not because I'm going to maintain it like my client is. They have a different life than me. However, I have coached more than a handful of other coaches. Like they've hired me to be clients of mine. And unfortunately, the overwhelming majority of them, their maintenance looks like 1,700 calories. So then obviously in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, if your maintenance is 1,700, what in the world are you taking your clients down to when they need to go into a deficit, right? Because I could get you maintaining at 23, 24, 2,500 calories a day because you're so active and they're scared to eat more, right? So I think asking more questions of, okay, how do you maintain? What's an appropriate amount that we should maintain at? Like things like that are really, really good. But again, if you are somebody who wants to become a coach, we want to help get more good professionals in our industry. Like we absolutely want to support that. Happy to refer you to books. Like I can't even count the amount of books that I've read about behavior change and like the psychology of asking people questions, motivational interviewing, things like that. We can refer you to books and courses all day long, but also like just getting the experience is so important. Like work for nothing, offer to coach people and train people for free at first so that you can learn what your gaps are and you can get better faster. Find somebody really good to mentor you who already does it, right? And does it well. If it's an online coach and they say, okay, you got to sign up with me for 6 months, and every 6 months they're churning clients, guess what? We're not adding enough value for those clients to continue to stick around, right? Like what does that look like for that coach? If every 3 to 6 months they're getting new people, they're probably not getting them enough value or enough results to sustain the results, right? Or to sustain the healthy habits that they've created.
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of a disconnect if you haven't coached online before. I think people think you get a certification, you're given clients, you adjust their macros and put their workouts in, and everyone's happy. And it requires an extensive amount of effort from both Jess and I to make sure that my skeleton protocol is customized to each individual, but that also the coach knows how to meet that person where they're at, wherever they're at in their health journey, that they know how to effectively change someone's behaviors without telling them what to do, because that's
getting the client to want to do it. Yeah.
Right. And then also just like systems wise, the type of clientele I work with, people are like, oh, how did you learn about Hashimoto's? And I'm like, if you think I can give
the
this
amount of courses,
sentence or a voice memo is that tells me you're not ready.
Classes that we've taken just on hormonal stuff, like, and you're talking a lot about systems because you're a business owner, right? As a coach in that system, right? I'm glad to work for you. I don't have to think about marketing and getting new clients or anything like that. To be a good coach, though, the amount of things, the thought and intention that goes into every little piece, right? I'm thinking of the specific amount of rest time in between every exercise. I'm not just thinking which exercises should we do. Oh, let's get this person to move more. I'm
You're
thinking
looking at their last 90 days of programming and saying,
yes,
what makes the most sense for this next
how
week?
many hard sets per muscle group have we done? Are we progressively overloading week over week? Okay, this
What can this
block we're going to be
client stick
working
to
on.
realistically?
Correct. Okay, I'm going to dial it back to 2 full body lifts a week, because if I do more splits, they're missing a couple body parts per week. Okay, now this last block we've worked more on brute strength and high weight and lower rep ranges. The next 3 months we're going to be spending on functional stuff and mobility and rotational things so that I can get them in different planes of motion. Like, this is stuff that, again, if you exercise and you love exercise, I think it's a great starting point, right? If you're passionate about it, you need to be passionate about it, because this is not a job you get into that you're going to be making great money in. Like, it's a job you get into because you're passionate about helping people. If you're passionate about it, great. Now go educate. Go learn all
Honestly,
the
I
little
just thought of
nuanced things.
an analogy. Let's say you go to a restaurant, right? And you order fish tacos, okay? The server and the owner are not coming to your table telling you what supplier they used, what their margin is, why they selected that type of fish. Do you want a different kind of fish? If you don't like mahi, maybe I can give you this one. If you want this is why I priced it this way. I know it feels expensive, but this is why it's like this. No, you go to the restaurant, this is the price, you eat the food, you pay for it, you leave, and hopefully you have a great experience, right? It's the same thing as coaches. We're not telling you all of the pieces of data that we're looking at. We're not telling you that we're looking at your last 12 check-ins of your energy inputs, your cycle inputs, your sleep, your stress patterns, right? All of these different things. Like Jess said, of course, we're telling you the why behind what we're changing and why. It's not this black and white, I tell you what to do and you follow it. But our job is to take so much data,
Everything we know,
things, and simplify it and filter it out to you and say, this is what's most important. This is why, so that you understand how to apply this later. You don't need to know all this other logistics.
But we're not telling you all the stuff we filtered out that we didn't tell you to do because of that. Like, our job is to make it simpler for you as a client. And if it feels simple, good, we're doing a good job, right? If you're getting those results and you're like, oh, I only have to change these couple things, yeah, for now, and then we're going to layer in another thing. And then a year from now, you're going to be a different person and you're going to be like, I can't believe these are just normal habits for me. So yeah, I don't know. I always use the analogy, like, I don't know, an accountant or a lawyer. Like, okay, I did my taxes once, so I guess that's not a good example because there's a lot of systems that can help you online and stuff. But like, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I watched a couple episodes of Law and Order, so I'm just going to represent myself in a legal case. No, because those people went to school for 4 years to learn about this stuff, and then I'm probably going to seek out an attorney who has experience with my particular type of case, right? It's that same type of thing, but because everybody can move their bodies and everybody has an opinion on the internet, suddenly everybody's an expert in health and fitness because they're like, oh yeah, I lost weight. And I'm like, okay, but did you keep it off? Like, that's the question number one. If you didn't, then there we go. 2, okay, that's great. Your friend's telling you that this thing worked or didn't work. Like, what's their experience? What's their qualifications? What's the why behind it? Right? Like, my dad is currently taking some supplement because when we were in Mexico, we both got a gut issue and nobody else in our family did, but me and him did. And I'm like at his house dropping my kids off. And I'm like, why are all these supplements here? This is not appropriate. You're taking some sort of probiotic to add more to the mess rather than taking like a killer supplement to get rid of the bad thing first. Like, the order of operations, you don't understand the why behind it. You're just taking something because, oh yeah, this is supposed to support gut health, right? Without understanding the why, you could be causing more issues. You might every now and then get a shot in the dark win, but you still don't understand the why, and now you're claiming causation. And it just adds to the mess of bad information, pretty much. So let's get into supplements then. Yeah. Also, I really hope he never listens to this podcast because I reference his like little personal research so much, but I don't think he will. He means well, and we talk about it after, and then he's like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, let me go ahead and do this thing. I like to banter with him on it, so that's why. Okay. The next one, if I wasn't afraid to hurt your feelings, I would tell you you're dumping money into dumbass supplements that do not have the effective dose, that are selling you. They say, metabolism booster, fat loss supplement, sleep support, blah, 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 blah. And then anytime a client, which this happens all the time, anytime a client says, hey, should I take this for blank? Well, first I ask them, what's the intention, right? What are you trying to get out of it? Second, I say, send me the back of the bottle. I want to see the ingredients list. This happened today where a client sent me a list or sent me a supplement. It claimed energy support on it. In the proprietary blend, the ingredients, it had like coffee bean extract and green tea extract and like beetroot powder. And I'm like, okay, these are all like energy supporting things. But it literally said proprietary blend. And then it had like 20 plus ingredients. And then next to proprietary blend, it said 257 milligrams. Of what? The list had 20 some ingredients in it, and you're saying there's 500 and some milligrams of that collective ingredients. Like
it could be 499 of one and one of another, and they're like,
correct.
Oh, beetroot in here.
So I feel like that is what ends up happening is these companies sell this great marketing, and they're like, well, this thing's effective. It's in there, and they don't tell you how much of it is in there, and they could literally have like 0.01 milligram of whatever that effective dose is, which is not the researched effective dose. So one, things to look out for in your supplements, proprietary blends, energy matrix, fat loss matrix, things like that. I used to fall for that all the time from like GNC supplements that were like weightlifting and fat loss supplements. They're terrible. Other things would be like the marketing aspect of it, not just what they say on the bottle, because the bottle literally can say anything it wants to say. I mean, the Celsius cans at Costco say metabolism boosting. Okay, you mean it gets your heart rate up because of caffeine? Like if you snort cocaine, that same thing will happen. Like that's not healthy. Yeah. That's not a healthy metabolism boost. That's just you're going to burn more calories while you're hyper caffeinated. But also like the marketing behind it it's just such a good like scheme of these salespeople who feed bullshit to women who want to feel better. And I feel like for a while, again, I just touched on this from a gut health standpoint. We talk about gut health stuff a lot where we're like, oh, and again, I used to do this. I've had like IBS my whole life, which I've fixed pretty well over the last couple of years. But I would take like random probiotics and think, oh, probiotics are supposed to help. Okay, if I don't know which thing I'm lacking, I'm just taking a random bacteria. Like maybe that's not the particular good bacteria I'm short in, and maybe now I have too much of it. Also, am I taking a good probiotic, or has it been sitting on the shelf and it's dead because it's been sitting there for however many months before somebody bought it, and it's supposed to be refrigerated because it's a live culture? Should I not be feeding myself a probiotic at all because I need to kill off a contaminant first, right? So we take these random things. So just like that little gut health craze has happened, I also feel like that's happened with like women's health, with hormone support, with all these different supplements. Mm-hmm. And it's like everybody's hormones are so different. One person could be really dominant in a certain thing, and somebody could be really lacking or dominant in another thing. And these supplements are like, yeah, just take it. It's going to help. It's like, it's going to help everything. Like that just scientifically doesn't make sense, but man, they make it look good.
Yep. Absolutely.
So knowing the why behind why are you taking something? Two, knowing the dosing, right? So this particular client, I asked her more about it, and I said, hey, does it say on there how many milligrams of caffeine? It seems that that's the active ingredient if energy is what you're looking for, right? I still think we should talk about your sleep habits because that's something we're already working on together. But tell me, how many milligrams of caffeine does it have, right? For somebody who's looking for, I'm putting this in air quotes because a lot of people self-diagnose, cortisol support, right? I know my cortisol is high because I took a Dutch test. Ashwagandha is a pretty safe one across the board as an adaptogen. I think it would probably benefit most people to take it. Again, I'm not saying, oh, don't take anything. It's not necessarily that it's going to harm you, but it might not do anything if it's not the appropriate. So, a super easy thing you can do nowadays, open up ChatGPT and say, okay, I think I want to take ashwagandha for blank. Can you show me the research? Show me the research on the most effective type and the most effective dosing. It's going to say, okay, KSM 66 at like 500 milligrams. If I'm taking some sleep support supplement that has 50 milligrams of ashwagandha in it, it's probably doing nothing and I'm spending all this money, right? So just understanding the why.
You're paying for those specific ingredients. Like
just buy the ingredient.
Yeah, like when we talk about this with creatine monohydrate, there are pre-workouts that are like $80 and when you look, creatine is the only thing you need in it, but they put all these other pretty things on there to make you think, oh, this one's superior. No, the only fucking thing you need is the monohydrate, and you can get it on Amazon for 1/10 of the price. So,
and we've talked about this forever with like with
Yeah.
energy supplements and pre-workout. Like I used to be a pre-workout. That's definitely like, that was the start of my caffeine problem. But like I used to buy all these pre-workout supplements, and then you go to read and learn about each ingredient, and it's like, oh, the tingle you feel, they literally add that so that you feel like this thing is working, so that you feel like it's doing something. It is not physically helping you lift heavier. The thing that's physically helping you lift heavier is the caffeine and like the vasodilator. You could just drink salt water and it would make that happen if you drank a lot of water before your workout. So again, understand the why. There's not something wrong with these things, but you might just be dumping money down the toilet and being like, I don't know why nothing's working. Or you might see something work and then give the wrong and call causation on it. So again, I've seen this a lot with like weight loss shakes that are actually just high protein. And it's like, well, yeah, you added protein and you took a meal out. So you are in a caloric deficit and you added protein. The shake is not the weight loss solution. It's you need more protein and less calories. This happened to be your means to that end. That the means to that end could have been anything. This is not a miracle shake.
It's like any type of like correlation is not causation scenario, right? Like keto. Well, keto works for me. Well, keto's a calorie deficit. You cut carbs, you lost water, right? So your perception of what works is very relative. And working, I mean, we
always ask, yeah.
If it's working, you wouldn't be talking to me telling me that you can't lose weight and you'll just go back to keto because that obviously didn't get you.
It didn't work. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's always important, is to not make unnecessary or just random correlations to your inputs and what I don't know. I think what you want, what behavior you might want to excuse, or the lack of output or results that you want to excuse, right? It's like, well, I'm not losing weight because I have PCOS. And I'm like, well, I have clients with PCOS who lose weight all the time. So like at the end of the day, there's still something you're not doing.
Or because you really want to believe that this thing works that you've invested a lot into. Like that, there's nothing wrong with that. Having that, like, that's a natural instinct to want this confirmation bias of like, oh, but I don't know. Like my friend told me that.
Actually, it's funny you say that. I just put this out about the sunk cost fallacy. The sunk cost fallacy is I've already invested X amount of energy, time, money, whatever. So I can't abandon it because I've spent so much. Well, I had actually another business owner say this. Well, I'm in this program. I hate it. I hate the vibe. I hate the energy. I hate what they teach, but I spend so much money. Are you
spending on it then?
Are you getting anything out of the calls? You are actually wasting more money having already spent that and then adding the time in that you're spending to not get anything out of it. In fact, it's only pissing you off and probably confusing you more. Stop it. Just let it go. It sucks. We all make bad investments, time, energy, money, whatever. I know it doesn't feel good. It's data. It's a lesson. You got to move on. But you get this connection to something because you're like, well, I've done it for so long. Am I really just about to throw it all away? Yeah. If you want to progress and move in the right direction, then yes, you have to. That's a lot of times the shift we have to make with clients, right? We have to get them to abandon. This is what Jess said about the power of unlearning. We have to get them to abandon all of these beliefs that they had that are actually holding them back from getting results. It's that simple. The client I talked to this morning, she's like, well, I looked at your workouts. She's like, I actually called my sister and was like, is this it? Is this all I have to do? I'm so used to being in the gym for 2 hours. And I was like, listen, give me 60 days. If my way doesn't work, we'll do it your way. But like, you invested, you're here, and she's totally open and receptive. But like, sometimes we have these beliefs that we don't even realize are holding us back. So the sunk cost fallacy ties into that. It makes me want to bang my head on the wall. It's like, well, I already paid for this. Okay, but it's literally not serving you. So
and there's like a community, and there's a community aspect of anything. Like I think that a lot of like the MLM companies do that really well, right? They get people, hey, we're going to work out together. We're going to do this thing together. We're going to take these supplements together. And people want to be part of a community. That's something I could learn from, right? Because I'm like, just data, just do the thing. Like me personally, I could probably better serve my clients by providing more community, right? You do a good job at that. We have a big group chat. We've done retreats as a group. But even something that isn't a collaborative thing becomes crazes because of the internet right now. So think of like Alani Nu. Like I'm giving a basic, just a random example of a product. They're pretty cans and people take pictures with them. And now everybody has Alani News. So it's like a group thing also, not just, oh, I've spent money on this thing. but also like, well, now I'm part of this clique type deal versus, okay, but what's effective and what do you want in terms of your life? Because you're the only person who has to deal with the consequences of whatever you decide you're going to do.
Absolutely. On your show.
Okay. If we weren't afraid to hurt your feelings, I have this conversation many times. And I mean, at this point, I'm not getting as many new clients recently because I'm just like, I'm serving my same clients. But whenever I have new clients, feel like I have this conversation like 4 out of 5 times. Okay, you're telling me you work out 4 or 5 days a week. Cool. For how many months have you been doing that? Well, last time I lost weight, that's what I was doing. Okay, right now, what are you doing? Well, sometimes I make it in like twice a week, but okay, cool. For how long have you been doing that? Well, right now I haven't really been like
last week.
Yeah, last week I went twice, but then before that it was probably a couple months, and then it was like 4 or 5 weeks 4 or 5 a week last summer, and then okay, again, I'm asking them questions to better understand how I can meet them where they are. Some people genuinely are working out 6 days a week. Like I have some of these CrossFit chicks who come to us and they are grinding, and I'm like, I'm sorry to break it to you, I'm going to slow you down. We're going to do less. But most of the time, again, this is similar to the food perception. People think they're dieting and they're balling out every weekend. A lot of times people think, oh yeah, when I'm on, this is what I do. Okay, I want to know, what does on look like for you on your worst week? What are you doing most of your year? Not when you're on, because the on off thing is the problem, and that's why you're coming to us in the first place, because you've been unable to sustain. So again, I think data is king here versus emotions and feelings, and I'm gonna our biases block us logically. So just track it, just write it down. Again, for myself right now, I write down my workouts every single time I work out. I have a note in my notes app. We have our app where we track our weights and our progression and all. I know that this season of life right now that I'm in with my kids home in summer, they're not in school yet. I've worked out so much less than I normally do. If I look, every single week I work out at least one time. Those are my slowest weeks. There was one time I took a full week off. Other than that, I'm working out 2 days a week right now. Okay, me during a less busy season of life is working out 3 or 4 days a week. But like, if I say, yeah, I always work out 3 days a week, and then I look at the data from this summer, that's not true. I don't right now, right? So like, just collect data, because then you can be honest with yourself and you set realistic goals. If I think I'm going to work out 4 days a week, and a more extreme example, a lot of people say, yeah, just give me a bodybuilding type split. I like that. It feels good. I feel a pump. What that means is like each body part gets a day, right? So maybe I do legs on Monday, I do chest and back on Tuesday, whatever. What ends up happening is if you're inconsistent, you miss a whole body part. I would rather, if I'm working out 2 days a week right now consistently, plan for 2 full body days and hit my major lifts twice a week. Then if I get a third day in, awesome. I can work on more isolated movements. I can work on performance stuff. I can do mobility or cardio, right? But I'm going to plan for what I can be consistent with, because then I can actually have more effective outcomes versus missing a whole body part or having ineffective programming.
Yep. And I think that goes with nutrition as well. Like people think like, because I have a MyFitnessPal and I put things in, that I should be seeing results. And it's like, well, if you're not hitting a target, or you're not being consistent, or you're not making changes to your nutrition habits, you're not going to see changes, right? Like, so I think sometimes they're like, I committed to coaching, but I track every day. Well, tracking every day isn't the solution. It's like, what are you tracking and how are you tracking, and are you consistent, and what is your intake, and what's your goal? Like, we have to make sure those things are connected. So I think that's super common, that's that like disconnect in their head of like, but I'm committed, but I want this, but I'm really trying. And it's like, I love that you're trying, and I know I can hear how bad you want this, but if you're not doing it, you're not going to get it. Like, trying is irrelevant. And then also it's about what you think should happen on the other side of your inputs. So like Jess said, we dial back and ramp things up for clients all the time. If you want to do a body part split, but you can only commit to 2 days a week, and we make you full body, great. But you have to make sure that you don't think that because I was a D1 athlete that my results should be the same because I'm being consistent now. It's like, no, your inputs don't look like they did when you were a D1 athlete, when you had no kids, you slept in until noon, you worked out 6 days a week. Like, it's not the same thing. And also, years of dieting obviously alters your metabolism and how your body responds to these inputs. So there are so many variables, and that is super common for like high achievers. We have a lot of people who are like, oh, I was a D1 athlete, and they can't mentally wrap their head around working out only 2 days a week, because it's like 5 or die, right? Six days, or I might as well do nothing. Another pattern that we have to like often undo, right? So what your actual inputs are will determine what your results are.
And I think that's good to point out too. Like, this is one that grinds my gears, but like, people will get met. And again, this is assuming that the person has a really good coach who is managing expectations and communicating well. But like, you're mad at a coach or a program because you didn't get results, but your expectations were to lose 5 pounds a week, and you never changed how you ate. You never actually went to the gym at all. You just signed up, and then you bought something and you didn't even open the box. You let it sit on the shelf, and then you said, this shit doesn't work. And it's like, well, duh, you didn't even open the box. You didn't even read the instructions. You didn't even check in so that we could talk about tools to overcome said roadblocks that you're dealing with. You just paid for something and then let it sit there. That's kind of a bad choice financially, in my opinion.
Right. Well, and
Sorry you have
sometimes people
regret.
think they're paying for information. Like, we have some hidden gem that we're holding from them, and it's like, don't sign up for me with information. Just Google it. That's free. I don't want you to sign up if that's all that you're looking for. And people are like,
But
well, how do I
it's
get
the
the most out of
context.
this? You
It's the
check in.
Yeah.
Real time input, data collection, consistency. I tell every new client that comes in, on your worst week, when you're like, oh my God, this is abysmal. I've done nothing. I didn't track a single thing. This is the worst week I've ever had. Great. Check in, because there's 3 scenarios here. 1, it was just a shit week. Life happened and you'll just get right back on track. That it's too much for you. Something in your life has shifted and we need to dial back or adjust your protocol. Or you need a swift kick in the ass, right? Those are the only 3 scenarios. But guess what the 4th scenario is? You not checking in, withholding,
and continuing down your little rabbit hole, or
leaving your GPS in the dark, and then saying, I don't know why I'm not getting results. Well, how can I help you if you don't tell me what's wrong, right? Your kid's crying and screaming in your face. Did you break an arm? Did you stub your toe? Did you get stung by a bee? Did someone hurt your feelings? I don't know what the problem is, so I can't help you, right? That is the point of like actually being self-aware and taking ownership, especially whether you have a coach or not, honestly, even if you're.
But also, you just touched on something. It is not a one size fits all thing, right? Like, if one person's not working out is because they're scared, they're socially uncomfortable being in the gym, and then another person's not working out is because they hurt their knee snowboarding yesterday. Like, they're 2 very different solutions to the same problem of not working out. It is not a one size fits all thing. Okay, let's see what else we got on this list. I feel like we could do a second episode, because this one is we're getting into them. The faster you lost it, sorry to break it to you, most likely the faster you're going to gain it back. So if you are doing something in a super restrictive way, you're cutting all your carbs, you're cutting all of whatever, you're just going to fast for 2 weeks and lose a bunch of weight. You're going to add a ton of exercise that's unsustainable. You're going to do 3 hours of cardio a day for the next month to fit in a dress for the summer wedding, right? The faster you lose it, the faster you're going to gain it back. And this is not a hard and fast rule because of the speed at which it's lost. It's because the ways to lose it fast are not actually supporting your metabolism and burning more calories all the time. They are, you're playing a calories in, calories out game, which is a clock in, clock out game, not an investment long-term assets game. You are burning calories to lose weight quickly. And then what happens is your metabolism downregulates. And then as soon as you go back to normal life, you are going to gain more back because your metabolism is now slower. However, if you can do it by adding muscle and by slowly adapting your metabolism to tolerate more and more and more food, to burn more calories all the time, even at rest, then you will keep it off. So that is always our approach. And it doesn't always feel fun. It's pretty boring. The build phases are kind of like, okay, just learning to nourish my body, learning to add some muscle, getting a little bit stronger week over week. And guess what? It works. And then people keep it off years and years later. So that's that. Also, you're building the habits along the way. Anybody could do something for 30 days and then be like, okay, I'm burnt out. I'm going to go back to what I was doing before. If we slowly can accumulate these habits and become 1% healthier week over week, month over month, year over year, again, oftentimes our clients look back and they're like, I can't believe this is just how I live now. Like, I don't even have to think about it. I just get up and I go for a walk, or I have more energy, or I'm not like avoiding tasks that I used to think were hard. It just becomes part of their life. So the faster you lost it, the faster you're going to gain it back, most like 99%.
Also, I think it's around like why you're doing it, but like it's okay to have a weight loss goal and that be your sole motivation for sure. But if you're like, I'm doing all of these things and I'm going to do them as fast as I can so I can just get this over with. If you think you're going to maintain whatever result you get in that scenario, you are very mistaken, because this is genuinely about adopting a different way of living and also becoming a different version of yourself. And if you're not willing to do those two things, that's okay, but you're like,
But it's uncomfortable.
Life cycle of losing and gaining weight over and over and over until you get sick of your own shit. So
it is uncomfortable to address that. The fact that like, oh my gosh, I actually have to change. I actually have to do these things that I know I should be doing. Like, it's uncomfortable. If the clients who are extremely like self-aware and really own their own, okay, here's where I am. You know what? I'm not willing to change this thing. Okay, cool. Then I can meet you where you are on the things you are willing to change, but you have to be absolutely honest with yourself and with your coach. You can't just be like saying you want to change something, but not actually ready to do the work that's required.
And actually,
again,
that's a little note that I have on here is like, some women, and this is like clients sometimes, but also women I talk to, their goals will change. Well, I want to focus on my hormones. Cool. Let's focus on your hormones. Here's the calorie recommendation, right? I really think we should be around 2,300 calories a day. Well, I want to lose fat. Great. What's your priority right now? Because these are two different things, right? It's like saying, I want to go to California and Maine at the same time. Which one do you want to go to? I want to lose fat. Great. Let's go on a deficit. Well, I'm hungry and I'm tired and I don't feel good and I'm always bloated. Okay. But remember when you said you weren't ready
Which thing do you want
right now? Yeah. So now we're in fat loss. So what would you like to prioritize? And they keep changing it, because if they change it, well, we're just getting started. So I don't have to be held accountable to anything. You're just going to change. You're going to spin your wheels forever, right? You're never going to get where you want to be. You have to just pick it and lock in. This is like the gray area I've talked about on the podcast that people live in, where they're like, I'm in a build phase. I'm maintaining at 1,700. And I'm like, okay, that's like my lowest deficit possible. And obviously that's relative to each person, but you're not fully stepping into a build. You've convinced yourself that is, but if you think you're actually changing your physique and lifting weights and driving change in the gym at 1,700 calories and you're calling that high calories, you've not only got a relationship with food problem, but you're not changing anything at all. And then when you diet down, you're either not going to see the scale change that much, you're not really going to see results, or you're going to diet down. Maybe you do lose weight, right? But you're going to be like, shit, I don't actually like the way that I look.
I'm just a skinnier version of myself before. I'm not actually more toned looking because I didn't put on muscle. I think the most common version of that we see a lot is like people who are performance driven athletes. Again, a lot of times it's type 1, go, go, go. No. I feel good when I run. I feel good when I do CrossFit 6 days a week. I feel good. Okay, cool. If performance is your goal, I'm going to train you differently. We're going to be at high calories. Like, we're going to have to really prioritize recovery. Is performance your goal? Yeah. Performance is my goal. And then a month in, they're like, how come my physique isn't changing? And it's like, whoa, because physique, I would be having you train totally differently. I would be having you eat like, you're telling me that you've been telling me this whole time performance was your goal, but you're mad that you're not doing both at the same time.
Cool. I want you to eat 2,800 calories a day, and this is what nutrition and training look like. Well, I want to lose fat before my beach trip in June. Okay. Yeah. Are we still running the half marathon? Because those two things, and you're going to be half-assed at both. You're going to kind of lose weight. You're going to kind of feel good in your half marathon. If you're cool with that, I'm cool with that. But if you want to see either of these goals all in, we've got to go all in with the inputs.
We're going to do our inputs differently. And like again, we talk on social media mostly about physique change and muscle building and fat loss and metabolic adaptation, because that's the core of the population that we work with. Any client who has worked with us and has told us, okay, I'm running a half marathon. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Okay, cool. Are you good with shifting gears? Yep, totally. They see that our programming instantly is now, we're changing the protocol. Our protocol is now not what it was. We are not fighting them on that goal. We're not telling them, oh, you shouldn't be doing this thing. Okay, client, tell me what's your goal. Now, if you bitch about your physique in 2 weeks, that wasn't really, it sounds like you're competing with yourself on what your goals are. You got to get clear with that before you tell me, and then I'll come up with the plan that's most appropriate. We've had women who are training for like military test, timed miles, and things like that. Okay, that training is going to be different than my bodybuilding and powerlifting type training for general metabolic adaptation, right? And then we get to that day of performance, they do really well, and we can shift gears back to physique, right? So again, understanding the why behind it, I think is important. Okay, I don't know. This is very controversial. I feel like I shouldn't. Okay.
I'll say it.
If I wasn't going to hurt your feelings, you aren't just automatically healthy because you're thin now. Like, this is for the GLP-1 chicks who have not changed habits at all. Again, we've already talked about this in the past. I was on tirzepatide. I like microdosed it for 5 weeks just to see. Super cool tool to support an effective deficit. However, if you have not spent time building muscle, if you are not still adding protein and fruits and vegetables and real healthy foods, smaller does not always mean healthier. Sometimes it means your metabolism has slowed down. Sometimes it means malnourishment. Like, people who have severe eating disorders who are anorexic are thinner, right? That doesn't mean that their blood markers and their health is better. So it's really, really important now that we're in this world where it's easier. I guess if you can afford it financially, it's easier to appear as if you're healthier. Doesn't not necessarily make you healthier. So you still need to do the healthy inputs required along with it, and be aware of, okay, on the tail end of that, how do I keep it off and stay healthy and fit, right? I'm still, same rules are going to apply as if we were coming out of any other diet. You're going to have to adapt your body back up to higher calories. You're going to have to put on muscle mass if you want your body to burn more calories all the time. You're going to have to spend time not dieting if you ever want it to work again, right? So all these things still reign true. And yeah, it's just funny watching how quickly things can shift from everybody's healthy to as soon as people
like, where is body positivity gone now that Ozempic's here?
Now that everybody can lose weight, now it's just, oh yeah, now everybody can. And it's like, time out, regardless of the trend, our goal is healthy, like healthy. We want everybody to be healthy, functional, strong, and maintain a figure that they feel good in, right? Like, that is our goal, is for our clients to feel good in their bodies physically and in their clothes, right? So again, we are not in any way against people feeling better. But please, please, please add some healthy habits.
Yep. And if you listen to any podcast of ours, you will know what those healthy habits are, and kind of what we focus on with clients more than anything else. And you got to rip the Band-Aid off and just start small. And
add protein.
And I think that, yeah.
Add protein, add muscle, sleep, and eat fruits and vegetables. Boom. Do that on repeat. I have a couple more, but I feel like we've done like a whole episode. So you guys can refer back to this episode. But the tough love here is that you think you need hormone or gut support, but actually you just need to stop drinking several days a week and eating like an asshole. Like, add protein, lift some weights, and go to bed at a reasonable time consistently for 6 months, and watch your hormone problems magically correct themselves. Again, we're not saying you don't.
What? Alcohol does drive hormonal imbalance and does drive gut dysbiosis. So Jess isn't saying hormone and guts aren't a problem. Alcohol is. It is causing your problems. Like, you're like, well, I'm exhausted. I'm bloated all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, alcohol is doing that to your body. And listen, I love a good margarita. I am down for a day of seltzers on the water or on a hot sunny day. I'm not saying don't drink, but if you have a problem, you have to have awareness around what inputs might be causing that problem, and either be willing to make that change or be willing to accept where you're at.
Again, so we're saying you don't need some fancy hormone or gut protocol. You just need to do the basics more consistently and be healthier. And then again, oftentimes our hormones start to balance themselves. Okay, and then I guess because we started on this note, we can kind of end on this note. For all the coaches that are out there who are posting the what I'd say if I wasn't afraid to hurt your feelings, your tough love is that you're turning off potential clients by judging rather than meeting people where they are on their journey. And again, I think that's easy to see on social media without being able to differentiate, because it's really easy to get attention by putting polarized views on there. Again, we try to, in the caption, hopefully if you ever see something like that seems extreme on either of our feeds, you're going to read the caption and be like, oh, there's the context, right? However, it's easy to see that on social media. Once you're working with a coach, again, any of our clients will say that our goal is to meet somebody where they are. It's never oh, well, you just must be not wanting it hard enough then if you're not doing the thing. It's like, hey, let's dig into this. What's the roadblock? Like, what's the challenge? Are we mentally trying to numb ourselves by staying up late at night because we're really exhausted watching our kids all day? Are we not making it to the gym because it's a logistical thing? I just need to pack my clothes so I don't have to go home first, right? Like there could be a million different reasons somebody doesn't do something. We don't want to just squash people, and it's not helpful, right? It doesn't help them actually change their behaviors. So that's it. Curious, not judgmental.
Yeah, I hope that was helpful. I know this was a longer episode, but I feel like we just hit on a lot of things that have been coming up recently for, clients in our DMs, questions that we get. So it's kind of like an FAQ-ish, but along this theme of if I wasn't afraid to hurt your feelings, then again, that's certainly not our intention. Our intention here is to always give you context, give you awareness, help you set realistic expectations, and make healthy changes in whatever way looks and feels good for you and your life and your goals. So hope that was helpful, and see you guys next time.